to our mini seminar on the psychology of sleep. How many hours of sleep do you get a night? So I'll start with 9. Who gets 9 hours of sleep? Nice.
Oh, dang.
7. 6. Like on average, 6 hours of sleep.
Is that all in one sitting at night?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
What?
6. We'll go with that. Can we see 6 again?
All at one time.
5 hours. 5. 5's here?
Damn.
4.
Oh,
3. Anyone under 4?
Okay.
Hopefully this will change your life.
Come on.
So yeah, we just want to present just a few things about sleep, what it is, what not doing it does, etc. And like taking this class actually, it's Psychology 133. You guys should take it with Professor Walker if you can, but it's really hard to get into. No, it's not a hard class.
It's hard to sleep.
But yeah, after like we're like almost done with the semester, and like I've been sleeping really differently, significantly differently from the beginning of the semester. Like I don't know if you guys have noticed. I don't know if you guys care, but pretty consistently for reasons which will be presented momentarily.
We'll talk about like basics in sleep just so we can establish like the basics. It's kind of complicated looking, but it's not. It's okay. There's 2 types of sleep, non-REM and REM sleep, and you go through these cycles throughout the night. Each cycle is 90 minutes. So you go from like you're awake, you go to REM, and then you go into like non-REM. Circadian rhythms. So our circadian rhythms are approximately 24 hours, and they regulate our sleep and wake cycle, and also regulates like our eating, drinking, body temperature, and hormone release. Elapsed since sleeping. So when there's the biggest gap between the red and the blue line, that's when you have like the greatest urge to fall asleep. When you're sleep deprived, that's what your blue process S looks like. And so you feel really bad at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. because there's like the biggest gap, the first one. This one. And then you start to feel better at like 11 because like the gap between the red and the blue is much smaller. But by the time you reach the next night, which you've probably all experienced if you've done an all-nighter, like you feel really crappy. So some of the things sleep helps is with immune function, metabolism, creativity, emotional regulation.
Is on memory consolidation. Basically what it is the process of stabilizing learned information. So as you can see in this diagram, you first encode, which is like the first step that the brain takes to store the memory, and then comes consolidation, which I just said. And then recall is the final process where your brain brings back the memory. For example, this particular study has you memorize the A pair and associate them with the B pair words. And then there's like a delay process where after that delay, they give you the A word and then you have to associate it to the B word. And then the second version is the interference version. And so the results are when there's no interference, sleep doesn't seem to have that much of an impact. But for interference ones, sleep does make extremely large influence. So the results were remarkable, and this shows that sleep does help to protect declarative memories from the interfering words that follow.
I'm just going to take you through a bunch of like studies that they did, or like a lot of scientists or like sleep researchers did in the past, and like what they found in terms of what sleep deprivation does to your your metabolism, all these things. But how group that slept for 4 hours a night for 6 days, and then what they did is they immunized, like they vaccinated these people, both of these groups, after day 4. On day 4, after 4 nights of sleep deprivation, they were the same level as control groups. So it's not that big of a difference. But then 10 days later, so when the immune system starts actually working, actually 10 days after vaccination, after 4 nights of sleep, and then 4 nights of sleep deprivation and 2 extra nights of sleep deprivation, they were about less than half of the antibodies that the control group had. Right? So your immune function is significantly decreased. The interesting thing is you'd think that after recovery sleep, they'd be okay, right? They would be at baseline, but that's not true. 21 to 31 days after they were immunized, they were still not at the same level as the control group who did get it.
What's the definition of sleep deprivation in this?
As Professor Walker defines sleep deprivation in Psychology 133, ready for this? If you feel drowsy and you feel like the need to sleep at any point in the day, you are technically sleeping. But in the case of these studies, we're talking about like longer, like chronic, like over the course of several days, or like very long extended period of sleep deprivation. What happens with like and then what happens with like diabetic people is like insulin kicks in, but then that doesn't trigger like the regular amount of like glucose uptake, and so that and then so this is the results. It decreased by 40%, right? So your ability to absorb glucose decreased by 40%. And the crazy thing is, like at that level, that's about a similar level as people are when they are high risk for diabetes. So basically, like 5 nights of sleep deprivation puts you at like almost like a pre-diabetes state. And so leptin in your brain is a chemical that signals you to like stop eating, right? And then ghrelin is a chemical that signals your brain to tell you to continue eating. After 2 nights of sleep deprivation, 4 hours of sleep a night, your leptin levels decreased by 18%, or at least in this study, the people, their leptin levels decreased by 18% and their ghrelin increased to 28.
Typically, you stayed awake for 8 days, 201 hours. And this study was unique because doctors were able to monitor the entire thing and just document like what he went through. And it's pretty ridiculous what he started to suffer from. So by day 4, like you can see in the slide, he started to suffer from delusions and hallucinations. And things like he thought there were spiders in his shoes. And afterwards, it seemed like he was okay. He got 22 hours, like almost an entire day of rebound sleep, and supposedly went back to normal. But the catch with Peter Tripp was that he continued to show like mental instability and kind of like psychotic symptoms after, like long after the wake-up was over. The PBT is a really simple like reaction time test where like you just react to something for like 10 minutes, I think. And basically what it's testing isn't how quickly you respond, but how many times you like lose, like you slip up. They call it like mini sleeps. And it basically records how able you are to concentrate for for 8 hours. And then the green side, the placebo, and the red side actually drink alcohol. And you can see that it was worse, like the red is a little higher for a number of times like they deviated from the road. But for the 4-hour sleep group, it's like over 3 times more accidents when they drink the alcohol and sleep 4 hours. So basically, sleep more and don't drink. Specifically in the amygdala, with like a normal sleeping group and a sleep deprived group. And you can already see in those like it's like flared up in the deprivation part on the bottom. And then this graph shows just like the disparity in activity.
Just some practical tips to help you get better sleep. Like have your room cool and have a comfortable bed. Don't look at your clock when you're trying to sleep. It's called clock watching, and it just makes you not fall asleep even more.
Environmental factors that you could alter for better sleeping, such as dimming lights before bedtime. Regularity is really important. I think this is something that a lot of college students really suffer from. Going to bed and waking up at a regular hour is most important. So especially waking up at a regular hour. So even if you sleep at like 2 and you usually sleep at 12, it's good to wake up at like 7 consistently because that's what your body needs to.
The starfish position when you sleep seems to be like really effective. Is that true?
Like, are there any ways to like maximize your sleep efficiency if you have no choice but to be able to sleep only for a few hours, other than the starfish position?
Is there like an optimal position? Is it good to take naps when you have food coma?
I've heard like I'm just curious like my dad always tells me that it's important to sleep at like 11 because there's like some like magical period or something. Is that true?
Is it true that like the way you face your head when you sleep? Like that Korean thing?
Yeah, like how many pillows?